You're listening to The Bo's Nose, a podcast about QI Roberts Junior Senior High School in Putnam County, Florida. And I'm your host, Mr. Bose. And today I have guests in studio with me to help us talk about our AICE Classics class. Thank you for joining me today. Please introduce yourselves to our listeners.
My name is David Palmer.
My name is Amber Nunemaker.
I'm Cynthia Oldacre.
I'm Isabel Chapman.
And I'm Jordan McCullough.
Thank you all for joining me. But before we get into talking about classics, I've got intro questions for all of you. So first is, what is your favorite QI story or tradition? You can go in any order you want.
I think I'm going to have to go with the pep rally leading up to homecoming. I absolutely love the pep rally. I love everything that we do, everything Mr. Bose does and homecoming committee does for us. And PTO even. I love the feeling of getting ready for homecoming and just knowing it's the next day and just going in with that and having a great day and a great way to end the week.
I would probably have to say the homecoming pep rally too, because it's just a lot of fun and everyone comes together. And it's just a time to have fun and decompress from the first quarter of school. And it's just a way for us to be able to connect as one and recognize those who have done a lot for our school.
I really love the Spirit Week leading up to homecoming, and even like Christmas Spirit Week too. I love all the dress up days and how everybody like dresses up. It's like very supportive.
Definitely the pep rally week, because we get all those fun days, and then during the day of, we don't have to really do anything in the class, and then we get to go and watch the Powder Puff game and lose to the T-Tools and tug of war.
I would say the pep rally too, especially with helping one interact. I think it's like really fun to do, and just like playing the games and going out there, which is really fun.
Wonderful. Those are all great different stories. And listeners, if you liked the homecoming pep rally, we will have another one here in a couple weeks for our winter week, leading up into the 4 days that we will have before winter break, because the schedule is strange this year. But we wanted to make sure we got a full 5 days for the winter week. So something to look forward to. So next question I have for the five of you is, if you could time travel, when would you go and why?
Since we are in talking about the classical studies class, I'm going to have to go with the time around when the Iliad was wrote, around the Trojan War time. You know, I know that being a war bride just seems frowned upon, but I think it would just be really cool to like have a war just started over you and all these men just fighting over you to just be Helen of Troy.
Okay, so I'm going to take a hard left from that and do the late 80s. I would love to just like watch a John Hughes movie in like the theater. I would love to dress like I was in the Breakfast Club. I love the music there too. Like, it's really fun. I would love to be in the late 80s.
I honestly probably would go back to Alexander the Great. I would just love to tag along with him and his horse.
You could be Bucephalus.
I could.
We have this inside joke in classical studies that she is best friends with Alexander the Great.
Yeah,
I would probably have to say I'd go back to the classical period too, and around like the time of like Dante's Inferno and things like that, because I really loved that piece of like literature in that, and just seeing like what is in that book, and just being able to go back and see where we came from.
480 BCE, Battle of Thermopylae. I want to see it.
Want to see the Battle of 300?
Mm-hmm.
Allegedly 300, I guess. Awesome. So last but not least, of course, is quality, integrity, respect. Which one and why?
I'm going to have to go with respect, because respect is a big thing. I mean, you should be respecting those around you, your peers. You should be respecting your teachers, the adults. And like most importantly, you should be respecting yourself. So I'm going to go with respect.
I'm going to have to go with respect too, because I feel like respect kind of bounces off of both quality and integrity. Because with integrity, it's more of having that will give you, like, people will respect you, and respect is also, it is earned. So with having quality and integrity, it gives you the qualities to be respected.
I'd have to go with integrity. I don't know why. It's just like, I feel like that, like, with integrity comes, like, the other two, respect and quality as well. And I don't know, just integrity sticks out to me.
I'd have to go with integrity too, but in my opinion, all of them need each other. to coexist for one of them to be successful.
I would go with respect too, because I just feel like you just respect everybody around you.
I like the idea of the triad. That's an interesting. I like that way to look at it. Yeah. Alrighty. So let's jump in and let's talk about classics. So first of all, why don't one of you or a couple of you tell us what is AICE Classical Studies?
So AICE Classical Studies is a class that is taught by Mrs. Bowes, and you learn Greek civilization, you learn about wars that happened in the BC and BCE era, you normally start with Alexander the Great, you learn about the Roman Empire, and a bunch of things that just circle around that.
So we usually start with Alexander the Great, and then we'll move into the Spartan and Athenian women, and then their civilization, how they treated different people. Then we'll move into the Greco-Persian wars, and then we'll advance that into the Peloponnesian, and then we'll finish with that, and then we'll go into the Iliad, the Odyssey. Then after that, we're basically done with all the classical paper exam topics.
You do either learn about the Aeneid or Caesar Augustus. I'm not too sure which one it is nowadays, but back in my day, it was the Aeneid.
We did on Aeneid, but apparently she's trying to switch it to Caesar Augustus.
Aeneid
which
for life.
The Aeneid and Caesar Augustus are like
Besties.
Augustan propaganda.
Yes.
Awesome. So why don't we talk a little bit, if you can, to our listeners about the fact that our classical studies program is actually a 2-year program if you want it to be.
Do you want to go?
So with classical studies, you can take it for 2 years. So you first start off with your AS level, and with that, you learn your first 2 topics, which are the first 2 papers you'll take. And if you're in 10th grade, you'll take those your junior year, and you take them in the fall. Or if you are a junior, you'll go ahead and take those, and then your senior year, you'll take papers 3 and 4. So you'll learn in your junior year, your first year, you'll learn about Alexander the Great and either the Aeneid or Caesar Augustus. And then once you move into your last year of it, you will learn about Athens and Sparta and the things that go along with that and all the wars and things with Sparta and Athens. And you will also learn about the Iliad and Odyssey and Homeric epics. And then in A level, we're also taking the National Mythology exam, which after we take our last ACE exam, we start getting ready for that.
Wonderful. So you kind of hinted at it a little bit. So how has this ACE course differed from the other ACE courses you all have taken?
So with our other ACE courses, they're required. They're not as fun as this one. But also, for this ACE course, all of the testing only happens in the fall and not the spring. So if you're in like your 10th grade year, you're not like allowed to take that exam until you're in your junior year. So it basically is like your best strategy if you do take A level as well.
I feel like Miss Bowes also makes it really interactive, where you can just get it on your brain. She does charts, podcasts, videos, which all really help for us to know stuff and get ready for the exam.
And with the other ACE exams, most people just kind of dread it. They don't really want to do it. They're just forced to go to the class. And then this one, they want to go to the class and they want to take the exam.
Yeah, I would say classical studies, the class, is a class that you just look forward to going to. It's not something I'm going to go. It's more I'm going to go to classical studies and I'm going to have a great day. It's going to be a great time in there.
And I feel so smart, knowing all this information.
Yeah, it makes you feel higher than everyone else. I'm just saying, knowing, our trivia and these trivia facts about this, era makes you feel better than everyone else.
It really does.
We're superior.
So the exam happens in the fall, and we talked about it. It's AS and A level. So what happens after the well, actually, let's talk about the exams themselves, because the 5 of you just finished them. The last of the papers was last week. So, we can't talk too many specifics on the podcast necessarily, but how did it go?
I thought it was, sorry.
No,
I thought it was really easy. To me, the questions that were on it, I just knew both of the questions I knew, but I just picked one and I just I wrote so much about it. I just knew all of it.
I felt very prepared for this exam. In other classes, I won't feel as prepared, like in history, I won't feel like I know I'm going to pass this, but whenever I got into that exam room and I saw the questions, I knew I was going to pass this exam.
You also get like really excited for the questions. Like as soon as like I saw like what like one of the questions were, I'm like, oh, I got this. I'm gonna write a whole bunch.
Yeah, so these exams, they're like, you look forward to taking them, unlike other exams. So I would say of all 4 papers that the 5 of us took, my personal favorite was paper 4, which is the Homeric epic, which includes the Odyssey and the Iliad. That was my personal favorite, but on every single paper, I felt as if I could write on every single question that was asked, like, on the topic in that book. Like, I could just write full-on essays about every single one. I think they went great.
The only issue was having to wake up early and going to school on a holiday.
Oh, yeah,
take
Veterans
exams.
That was horrible.
It's okay. We got good breakfast though.
The worthy sacrifice. So you all talked about how the class is different. Like you're into the material and you look forward to going to class and you actually look forward to taking the exams. Like, is there anything you can point to about the class that you're like, this is why?
For me, I think it's going to be the interactive things Miss Bose has us do. The podcast, the scavenger hunts, the silly little videos. Like, actually, right before we left, she was telling us how we needed to make about a 3-minute short film on the topic we're learning right now for the mythology exam. Like, interactive things like that is what gets me like, yeah, I'm excited to go to this class. Like, oh, we're doing a scavenger hunt? Great, I can go walk around the school and find these things that interest me and, like, make fun of it.
I'd have to say the same thing about everything that's so interactive with her class is it's just you always have something to look forward to, and there's always, like, especially on long days, there's always something that we're doing that makes it really interactive. Like, we get to work with our groups and go walk around the school and find things that represent these different characters and these different concepts. And it's really fun, and it's really something to look forward to.
Also, the material is like really interesting to learn. Like, I don't ever think that there was a day when I was like, actually, I can think of one day that there was like me absolutely dreading it. And I don't know, just like the topics are really interesting to learn about. And even on the long days, like when you're just sitting there in this like lecture, it's like you're intrigued to the lecture. It's really fun.
Yeah, Miss Bose, she also makes the like lectures and the notes we're having to take and like the slideshows we're having to pay attention to really interesting. I mean, she makes jokes about it like every few seconds. There's memes every other like informational slide. Like she keeps you like pulled in with the information.
And you can follow those memes on the QI Classics Instagram page if you are interested, listeners. So, and listeners, what they're not giving on is that these lectures and slideshows that they're talking about are like 300 slides long.
It's okay. She gets through them quick, and you don't even realize it's 300.
Yeah.
So you have kind of all alluded to why you like the class, but let's talk a little bit about why you specifically chose to take the class and why other students should, sign up for classics as their number one elective choice.
I chose this class, and it was my number one elective when the list came out my 9th grade year picking sophomore year electives. And I saw classical studies, and I was like, I don't really know what that is. So I went, I'm not quite sure who I asked, but I asked, I was like, well, what is classical studies? And then I was told it was Greek civilization and the Roman Empire, and you learn about books like the Odyssey, and you learn about Alexander the Great. And, well, as soon as I was told the Odyssey, I was like, well, I want to take this class. Like, learning about the Odyssey once in Mr. Bergen's class in 8th grade, I already liked it. And I had already had, like, a slight interest in all of that. So when I found out that that's what it was on, I was like, okay, I want to learn more about that. That's the class I want to take.
My sister took it before me, and she told me, like, a lot about it, and I was really intrigued to learn about it. And I already, like, beforehand, wanted to learn more about, like, classical studies and the Greek civilization. So, that's why I chose the class.
I just really like the Iliad and Odyssey. Like, that was, like, my number one reason for taking the class. Like, I've read books before, not the actual Iliad and Odyssey, of course, but I've read books, like deep diving, and I, like, watch, like, YouTube channels, like, deep diving into, like, Iliad and Odyssey and all the Greek gods and Roman gods and everything, and I just thought it was so cool. And then I took the class, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
So when I was, 5th grade, I got really interested in the mythologies of the Greek and Romans. And I read all the books. I read all the mythology books. I read the Percy Jackson series. And then I saw it and I was like, I'm really interested in that stuff. I know a lot about it. I should take that class. And then it's everything I already knew. It's in that class.
I think I chose it mainly because I needed another elective, and I had saw it, and I didn't really know what it was about. And my sister had taken it too, like Isabel's did. And when I asked her about it, because she had only taken it the first year that we offered it here at QI, it was more of like, oh, I think I want to try this. It seems like it's not going to be too bad. And I honestly fell in love with the class, and it's so much fun, and there's so much to learn about this stuff back in the BC eras and just about Greek civilization, Roman civilization, and everything like that.
Very good. So, I forget which one of you mentioned it, but you talked about what you were the A levels taking the exam, the not ACE exams, but exams. So why don't we tell me a little bit more about that?
So the National Mythology exam we just started going over it yesterday. And basically what it is like each year there's like a new topic, and it's like what is covering, like what this thing is covering. And this year it's
Tartarus?
It's something about Tartarus.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tartarus.
And it's basically, I believe it's basically where people get sent if they do bad things and stuff like that.
not the exam, Tartarus.
and the exam itself, is it 50 or is it 100 questions?
I have no clue.
Either way, it's all multiple choice, no writing, all multiple choice. And Miss Bose does this great thing where she gives out tangible rewards, specifically medals. And I think you can get medals if you do it. Javen, can you?
If you get a high enough score, you get like an actual big medal.
And we have had students last year place nationally, competing against some of the elite private schools in the state and in the country. So we got the knowledge.
That we do.
And we're persuaded by bribery.
Yeah, tangible
Yeah.
rewards. Another thing that keeps me going in that class
Medals.
is
Medals.
tangible rewards. I love them.
Yeah, I love watching everybody with their medals because you wear it the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Just like
We wear it into our ACE exam.
Yeah.
That was fun.
That was my
Yeah.
favorite to see, is all of you wearing like your plastic medals into your ACE exam.
It means a lot.
Hey, these recent ones weren't plastic
That's
though. They were
true.
actually
You did
metal.
upgrade
Yeah.
recently.
They're all hanging up in my car right now.
Yes.
Just reminds you how smart you are.
Yeah.
Constant reminder when you have a bad day. You're like, no, I've got this. I'm smart.
Fly Swaddle Game Champion.
All right. So what are some of your most memorable parts of the class or best stories from the classes so far?
I love last year, our AS level year, we were all assigned, like a specific part of the Aeneid, like one of the specific chapters. And my group got chapter 4, which is like the best book in the entire Aeneid. And we got to go out and like actually act out like Dido and Aeneas and like everything. And it was just so funny. And I still to this day watch that video on my phone.
I think my favorite story has to be, we were in classics and we had to make a video about, I think it was about the Aeneid, or it may have been about Athens and Sparta. And so me, Avril, and Isabel were in a group together, and none of us really wanted to act. And then Isabel paid me to actually act in the video. And I think that it's kind of funny to me that that persuaded me into actually doing it.
I think mine's gonna have to be actually a recent thing we did in class in A level. We had to make a slideshow on all of the Homeric heroes throughout the Iliad and the Odyssey, and you had to rank them based on Kleos and intelligence and strength and this and that. And my group went above and beyond. We had we went to Canva and we got like a Greek slide and we edited it, and we got every hero was a teacher at this school. We had, he doesn't know this, but I'm going to tell him now. Mr. Bose was included. We had Owen included, Mr. Johnson, Colonel Ski. Everyone you can think of is in there. Mr. Brown, Mr. Cantrell. It goes on and on as their own individual heroes with an explanation. And Miss Bose showed Theobald, and he got a good laugh out of it. That's probably my favorite thing so far.
Mr. Theobald's in it too.
Yeah, Mr. Theobald is in it.
Mr.
It was
Poole.
beautiful.
Everyone's in it.
So, my favorite story would have to be the very first scavenger hunt she had us do. It was we really didn't know what we were doing. So we just walked around. We basically spent the entire time in the library just bugging Miss Trackstuff about, hey, can we borrow this book? This would look really good as a picture. Hey, Miss Trackstuff, can we use your doll? it did look really good for this piece.
Yeah, all we did for that first scavenger hunt, 'cause I was in Javen's group last year, we just took pictures of books with the names on it. Like, it was so not fun. It was just all books and, like, actually educational things.
My probably favorite part is we made like a little film, and then like Amber was in it, and Avril did like a little voiceover, like using like an Australian voice or something like that, and that was really fun. We used like a fake names like Kimling and stuff like that.
Very cool, very fun stories, and I get to hear part of them after the fact from Mrs. Bose as well. So if students want to know more about the class, how can they find out more?
I would say ask around and see if you can find someone in classical study, which is very easy. A bunch of people are in AS level, a bunch of people are in A level. You can really just ask, and it won't take that long to find someone and have them talk to you about the class, or even maybe ask Miss Bose. Or I would highly recommend going to, like Mr. Bose previously stated, our meme page, the QIR Classical Studies meme page. I feel like all you really need to do is look at the memes, and though you may not understand them, looking at those and knowing a teacher is posting them can get you like, yeah, I want to take this class. And you can read some of those memes and even get like an idea of what we're doing in the class at that moment. So I would say one of those three things.
Very good. So before we sign off, does anybody have anything else they wish to share with the listeners?
So there was like a lot of, like in our AS literature class with Beltor, like all the stories we read, they all mention like some type of classical study or all that. Like the first one we had to read was Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. And that poem opened with mentioning Aeneas and Brutus, which are from the Aeneid.
Oh, yeah. And another one, if you like to dabble in trivia or anything like that, or even if you don't, and if you just want to feel better than everyone else, please take this class. It just makes you feel better than everyone else so much. It just has you feeling great, especially when you wear the medals. Like, if you just want to feel above and beyond and just know things and go home and start spitting out facts with your parents looking at you like you're crazy, please take this class for not even 2 years, but I would take it for 2 years. That way you get all of it and you get the full enjoyment of it.
And you get both credits if you pass it.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
9 credits of college is never a thing to think lightly of.
Yeah.
Alrighty, anything else, anybody?
I think that's it.
Alrighty, that wraps up another episode of The Bose Knows. Thank you to my guests for taking the time to sit down with me. Listeners, if you like the podcast, subscribe on your favorite podcast player of choice so you don't miss out on future episodes, and please share with your friends. Until next time, excellence in all endeavors.